Good afternoon. Welcome to another Thailand News Today, coming today from the 17th floor of our Bangkok offices. This area actually is called the Town Square. It's the area where we get our staff together from time to time, read them the riot act, give them a good beating, sort of keep them in line. It's a good space to have, and today it happens to be a nice quiet space, as we got quite a few complaints yesterday about the noise in the program. In the meantime, let's get stuck into today's main news stories. Thai Airways has accumulated more losses. That's on top of more than a decade of losses for the last quarter. At the moment, the national airline debt is 4 times higher than last year's debt. The airline, already struggling, has been mostly grounded since the end of March. At the end of last week, Thai Airways put 34 of its old planes up for sale. You've got until tomorrow to put in a bid. 5,000 employees were also shed in an early retirement offer under its current rehabilitation plan. It's also selling spare parts and other random stock in its warehouses, as well as leasing out parts of its offices to save costs. Passenger numbers were down 92% in the last quarter compared to the same time last year. The Public Health Minister says that concerns from the public have led the government to shelve plans to reduce the quarantine time from 14 days down to 10. Anatun's statement came after a number of mystery local infections. One involves a woman recently returned from France who tested positive for COVID-19 after she'd completed her quarantine period and travelled to Koh Samui. Another is the case of an Indian man in Krabi province who was found to be infected despite no recent international travel, and the Hungarian foreign minister and a Hungarian diplomat, both of whom tested positive in Bangkok. And then there's the South Korean soldier who tested positive after returning home from a training exercise in Thailand. More about him later. Whilst acknowledging that the decision will not help efforts to revive foreign tourism, Anatun says the health and safety of Thai residents must take priority. Now to the curious case of the COVID Korean, and Thai health officials are trying to stitch together the backstory of a Korean military official who'd attended Thailand for the Cobra Gold training, returned to Korea and tested positive. Local health authorities investigating the case are asking South Korean authorities for more information about the officer's whereabouts to figure out exactly how the officer could have come in contact with the virus. Here's the timeline of the officer's movements. On October the 17th, the 32-year-old South Korean military officer arrived in Thailand and checked into an ASQ hotel in Bangkok. On November the 1st, he was released from the ASQ after 2 tests came out negative. He checked out and stayed at a hotel for a night in Bangkok's Sukhumvit area. On November the 3rd, he travelled to Rayong's Ban Chang district and participated in the Cobra Gold military training exercise. November the 6th, he travelled back to Bangkok and stayed at a hotel for 2 nights. November the 8th, the military officer left from Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport and landed at the Incheon airport in Seoul, where he tested positive for COVID-19. Those who came in close contact with the infected officer are now having to quarantine for 14 days. Others who participated in the Cobra Gold's 5-day training exercise are being advised to self-quarantine at home. Police in Bangkok say they plan to deploy more female officers to provide crowd control at this Saturday's planned rally. The Royal Thai Police say most of those gathering at the Democracy Monument and the Education Ministry are expected to be students. An RTP spokesperson says Metropolitan Police Bureau has ordered to deploy more female crowd control officers to monitor the situation and prevent any violence that might occur. There was no mention as to why deploying more female police was somehow relevant to the protests. Since October the 13th, 89 activists have been arrested and charged, mainly with sedition. TripAdvisor, the review website people love to hate, has posted a warning about a particular hotel, warning people that there could be dire consequences if they post a negative review. Be careful if you want to trash a Thai hotel in the land of fragile egos. who used the handy tools of eager lawyers and draconian libel laws. One visitor, Wesley Barnes from the US, was arrested after he waxed lyrical in his opinions about poor service at the particular establishment. Mr. Barnes was freed and eventually apologised in a settlement between him and the hotel, but TripAdvisor slapped this notice on the hotel's listing. Management at the hotel made an official complaint to the local police about the critique at the time. Mr. Barnes' review strayed somewhat from the usual commentary about dirty bathrooms and cold soup to include the term modern-day slavery. The resort's management claimed that it had first tried to reach Mr. Barnes directly to resolve the matter, but took legal action because other reviews had been posted across different platforms a few weeks apart. And the Thai Parliamentary Speaker, Chuan Lik Pai, says members will assemble on November the 17th and 18th to discuss 7 amendments to the 2017 Thai Charter. 6 of the drafts are the work of the government and a number of opposition MPs, while the 7th has the support of more than 100,000 citizens. The government chief whip says they'll attempt to persuade senators to support its proposed charter amendments. To be approved, each draft requires at least 375 parliamentary votes, including support from the 250 senators hand-picked by the military junta. Protesters say they'll assemble outside the parliament in support of the amendments. Well, that's some of the main news stories from around Thailand over the past 24 hours. We've also posted another video today which includes some of the details, all sort of crammed into a short segment, which explains the latest about the ASQs, the STVs and a whole lot of other acronyms. Hopefully that might provide you with a bit of the latest information. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, that's much appreciated, as is your viewing the program every day. We'll see you tomorrow.